So you can mess with the layering of certain things. So your layering is kind of controlled in two different ways. So a lot of the stuff will have the same Z depth, and when it has the same Z depth, you can control the order that it draws with its Engery depth. But then you can also use the Z to put it in front of things. So like how the text appears on these buttons, like sometimes you want to have the text behind.
Tim, are you just using the NGUI that comes with the OUYA package?
No, this is Engery Pro. But the free Engery gives you control of some of this stuff, I think. Let me see. Yeah, if you get anything in the store, like Engery is the first thing you want to get. Huh, they have an inspector for Engery. I wonder what that is. And it's free. 50 inspectors, work gets done. I'll have to check that out. Oh, it's 95 bucks right now. Okay, so like I've had panels that I had to make that had different layering. So like I wanted to show like this layer on top of here, but then I might want to show like more widgets on top of this. And so sometimes your script can instantiate more things in here, but if you want to show another background, like let's say this Engery thing over here, it's in the same panel, and so if it moves down over this button or something, okay, and then I'll try and get the button on top of it. Okay, so then the button's on top, and then it has a label. Okay, so a lot of times you can just play with these depth values, but sometimes it doesn't work. And in that case, you just create a new panel, and you put the stuff in a new panel, and then it'll just respect the Z order, the regular depth order, because it's optimized to do like a single draw call kind of thing, all with each panel. And if you do too much layering, then if you want to get the layered effect, you have to use more panels. Okay, well here's an important one.
Oh, hey, I can share my screen.
Yeah, anybody in the Google Hangout can share their screen. Here, this example shows how to do localization. You can attach a UI localize script. I figure you put this UI localize script on the label itself. Like that's what I would do. Oh, it is. Okay, so then you can, it has like a key system where they store their keys. Usually, like I've stored the keys in like XML or JSON. And then it just has an event that swaps in the text. And then usually there's an event for like on localization changed. And then you can just, you go into your XML dictionary and you go to the language and you grab, based on that key, grab the right text. All right, so let's see. There's a localization script that's present in the scene. There it is. Interesting. Like Notepad could have worked or something. Okay, so this format isn't necessarily what I would have expected. Like sometimes I just have like an XML file with key lookups and key value pairs with a language section. So they must have their own kind of custom thing. The advantage of using XML is that you could specify like a code page and use UTF-8 encoding, where this is just a text file, and it's probably got ASCII encoding or something, and you don't really know. So using some kind of structured data might be a better idea. But then again, you don't have to write any code here, where you can use the existing system. But it would be super lightweight. You just have a localization key script on here. And then that localization could have a reference back to your script that manages the keys to just set it at runtime. All right, well, you guys want to ask any questions? I'm kind of just like going in a random direction, but
I'm too embarrassed to ask questions.
I don't really have any questions because I'm going to be honest. I don't do this stuff usually. I'm more of a writer for the company than this. So I'm perfectly fine with what was going on here.
this is usually the time when I break out another game trailer or something. So does anybody have like an APK to test or?
Yes, send your APKs over. I want to try new games all the time.
I'm down.
Come on, there's nothing good on the OUYA. Yet. I'm just trying to make my menus now.
Alright, so what I've seen here, I'll try again. I'll just start over. New scene. Okay, so the typical process is we're ready to create our stuff, and
So I have all my stuff sliced, so now I go Engery, then click Create New UI.
okay, so here we'll start over. Okay, so at this point we just have some textures that we've imported. We don't have an atlas yet. So then you go to Engery Atlas Maker, and then you type in a name for your atlas. So I'm going to just call it UI main. This time I'm going to go with the defaults. And once you have your atlas created, you open up the atlas maker and then you either click on your atlas or you drag your atlas prefab to this spot up here. Oh, this spot. Okay, and then that's the atlas we're working with. And then you just select the textures that are in your atlas. You hit add or update, and that's it. And it automatically created our nice atlas map. And then you can just go and create some buttons. So first you need a UI, which is a UI panel. I'll use the default layer this time. Create your UI. Maybe that's what I messed up last time. And then I go to create a widget. It's already got the default atlas selected, but if it's not the right one, you can just drag it up over here. And you can grab a font out of the... Here we go. And you can make a label. Change the text and position it where you want. Oh, I started to notice there's comments here. It's like, yeah, Tim, just click that button. It's right there. Click that button. Come on. It's just right. I should have seen that. Okay. So you can make labels and then...
Jason, the APK testing, yeah. Tim's still gonna do some APK testing, and I just got my developer kit in, so I can test it for you if you want.
Yeah, I'll show you some cool stuff with that too. Okay, so anyways, you can make buttons and background thing.
Sorry, where should I send the link to the APK then?
Oh, you
Just
can post it
send...
in our chat here.
Yeah, just put it on a file host and then send it to our chat.
Oh, okay, I'll try that.
Yeah, it usually works pretty good if, like with a Dropbox link or something, and then we can just click it and install it. Okay, so then you can add a regular button. Sorry, I'm clicking this weird button. I meant... Okay, so sometimes they have button with text. No, this is just the label. Okay, and then you can independently scale your text and your button. And change the colors. If your font's set up for that, looks like it's always that color. I want a white font. Oh, okay, up here. There we go.
Sorry for the latest ODK 0.0.63. Which
Okay.
one do we grab? The core, the starter kit, both of those?
Okay, so the core is the core like panel and stuff, and the starter kit is just a I didn't include that with the core in case people didn't want to import that into their project. And that, yeah, maybe we can jump over to that stuff because.
I mean, you know, I already have all the ODK and stuff working in my project. I just need to update it. So, does the
Right.
does the starter kit just include extra stuff that you don't need, really, or
Yeah.
does
It's
it
just
just
an
depend
example of
what
how to.
you?
It's just an example. So here's the starter kit. It's just this folder here, which includes like a splash screen image, some scripts for each scene, some different scenes, and then an init prefab and a material. So this won't affect like your existing game at all. It's just an add-on. And then it works with the panel changes. So
Okay.
now there's a way to just, you can say use starter kit scenes, and it'll just set you up to have those scenes in your build.
Okay, cool.
So
Thanks.
okay, so in 003 I did make one change.
I'll be back in like 20 minutes, guys.
Okay. So I did make one change in the Android manifest, which was just to specify the min SDK version. And then I made changes in the OUYA application and the plugin. Oh, those are the jar files. I made changes to the test facade, the plugin, all the Java files basically in this last update. As I'm doing some changes to the system here. Okay. So to support the purchase system at the end, I guess I'll do it in order here. So all this stuff is pretty much the same until you get to the scene setup, and the documentation was old about how the scene works and whatnot. So I just went into how you want a init scene first that has the OUYA game object, and none of your other scenes want the OUYA game object, and your init scene just transitions to the next scene, while the OUYA game object has the don't destroy on load enabled. So your other splash screen just has that stuff and no OUYA game object, and it fades in this little thing and fades out, and then it's got like how to switch, how you'd have like a main menu to switch between different scenes, and just the basic setup to get people started. So they don't, because it's all stuff that everybody had to write anyway, so I might as well put it into a starter kit. And then I went into the controller changes, because the old documentation had you do kind of what the OUYA game object does now. And I simplified it to be, okay, all you need is a pause listener and a resume listener. And you can add a button listener for the event-driven input. And you also have access to the state-driven input. And when you register a listener, make sure that you destroy it, on destroyed. And you clear your button state so that when you're switching scenes, it like a button doesn't get stuck or something.
Okay. I'm programming in Java, and so I tend to move all the files around so that they're in the plugins folder or whatever.
Oh, you use JavaScript?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
So I assume that's going to affect the whole window where it recognizes or it automatically updates the
the post processor,
the manifest and all that kind of stuff
well,
that you have in there now, because it's.
I don't
Sorry,
think you
go
can.
ahead.
You're not allowed to move the
Oh yeah,
Android stuff, so that stuff won't move. It's pretty safe
Right.
to move the C# scripts so that you can access them from
Okay.
JavaScript. So you should actually be okay.
Okay, yeah. Great.
Okay, and then I updated the documentation for the multiple controllers and kind of how that works. So in the previous example of the controller, like that was a single script that would affect all the different buttons, and it was just using the player one. And in the multiple controller example, there's a script attached to each skeleton, and in the inspector you specify what controller player it is, and that's how each controller individually moves their skeleton around and performs the actions. So then I was like, show, okay, this is using event-driven input, and kind of this is how you filter out the input so that it's player specific. And here's a button event where on key down it will play a specific animation. I'm just looking for the Hangout link here.
I'll be right back, guys.
Okay, so that was the event-driven input, and then really this is what everybody's been waiting for is finishing up the IAP and the product stuff. And I figured since there's so many new developers that are coming in, that I'd get the documentation updated so that they don't repeat all the mistakes of using the old input system. So now that that's up to date, I did start on the new interfaces for the products changes to support the encrypted products and whatnot.
So the new input system that you just put in, I guess how does that change from the old one? Because I just updated it, right? And now in my menu, when I hit down, it just continually goes right through my menu, like as if I'm continually pressing the down key.
Oh, that's kind of weird. When I say new, I mean like 1C. Like you've probably already been doing the new stuff. So
Okay.
like this is new as in not in last November.
Oh. Okay.
Because that really put people behind.
Right.
So if you're getting that kind of behavior, what I usually do is I'll add like a GUI label, and then check the raw inputs to make sure it's not like one of your bugs or where the bug's happening. So you're saying you're pushing the down button and it's going through, like?
Yeah, just the D-pad. I'm using a Xbox 360 controller, but
okay. So
it was.
Did you handle the D-pad events as button events in the handler? Like this up here, because in that case you'd only get one event per button press.
I'll tell you, I think I'm doing it a little differently than maybe I should, but I'm saying OUYA input manager and just checking which button and is getting pressed by which player.
So OUYA input manager .get button, that's state-driven input.
Okay.
And in your case, since you only want one button pressed, you want to do the event driven one. So otherwise you have to keep track of like stuff. Like when the button goes up and when it goes down and all that kind of stuff, where you could just add a handle button event listener, and then you could just see, hey, is the key enum button D-pad down? And then you're only going to get one button down event and then a button up event, and it's done. And you can target for those specific enums.
So since the screen is insanely small, do you have a link to that, what you're working on right now?
Oh, sure.
Or is that included in an email somewhere or something?
Yeah, it's this link basically. It's the first link on the page. It's the documentation at the top there.
Ah, okay, cool.
Okay, so the same way how we have the pause listener and the resume listener stuff, I decided to do something similar with the products, where everything is as simple as you register a few different listeners for the 3 different things that products do, which when you're doing products, you just want to get the product list, you want to do purchases, and you want to get receipts. And so might as well just register listeners for that. And since I did listeners, there'll be events that you have to, well, it's an event interface. So you have a get products on success, failure for the 3 different types. And then it's going to change a little bit on what the parameters are, but get products will probably get a list of purchasables. Purchase success will probably get a purchase notification. The failure events will get error codes, and receipts will have a list of receipts. And then really at this point, people don't have to worry about all that Java code that I kept going through. They just add a few lines of code, and then they can get the stuff. And once your listeners are in place, you can just invoke the SDK to get your product identifier list, which actually that's somewhat out of date because I decided I wanted to put it. You really can't see it here. So the same way you type in your developer ID into the OUYA game object, I'll just have the purchasables in the same place, so you can list the products, the apps that are associated with your product, and you get those IDs from the dev portal. Like if you've tried to list anything in the store yet, you create an application and you get an ID, and those IDs are what you type in here.